Hey, on this episode of Voices of Hope podcast here at Wheeler Mission, we've got Brandi Moran. You're going to love this one. She actually has a story to tell that's going to blow you away when it comes to where she was when she came to Wheeler Mission, what God did in her life through her time at Wheeler Mission. But she's on staff now working with a bunch of people that are trying to take the journey that she took. And so she's doing amazing work here at Wheeler. I want you to hear her story, so enjoy. All right, I'm here with Brandi Moran. Welcome, Brandi.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's good to have you on the podcast, and I'm excited to hear really a lot of stories that I think we're gonna talk about today. Specifically, we're talking about addiction recovery. Obviously, Wheeler Mission does a lot with men and women that are battling addiction issues. Sometimes those are small, sometimes they are years long, and sometimes they have almost killed people. Sometimes they're just starting to kill them, right? Sometimes it's destroyed families, sometimes it's just starting. But so there's really no like perfect story that really talks about everything that we see when it comes to addiction recovery. But I know you've got some stories,
I do.
And so we're going to dig through as many as we can. I really want to just talk about like what you see at your work and on your daily ministry, but also your personal story. I think we're going to dig into that a little bit too. So, but first of all, again, just welcome, and I'm glad to have you here. So. You work at Wheeler Mission.
I do.
Right? And so how long have you been at Wheeler Mission on staff?
I've been at Wheeler since 2014 on staff.
Okay. 2014. All right. So a while, enough to have some experience,
Yes.
right? So, but you came to Wheeler Mission before that, right?
I did.
So talk to me about that. How did you hear about Wheeler Mission, and how did you first come to our front doors?
Yeah, so I heard about Wheeler Mission through my mother-in-law, and at that time I was incarcerated, actually, and so she sent me information about Wheeler. A family friend of hers actually went through the men's program, and so she offered me the information, and then I came to Wheeler November the 7th of 2012 from prison, actually. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah,
Okay.
so I had 2 bags of prison stuff, and then I just came to the door.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay. So how long were you in prison?
I was incarcerated for a year.
For a year.
Solid, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you left there, did you come straight to Wheeler, or did you have a stop
so,
between?
Well, no, it was interesting because I was actually in Madison down south, and the case manager there allowed me to use the phone to contact Bethany Nelson at the time.
Okay.
So I was trying to get in the program actively from there so that I had a place to go because I knew I needed an addiction recovery program, and that's how I got to Wheeler. The interesting part was I wasn't really confirmed that I had a bed, but I told them to take me straight to the doors, and so they did, and I never looked back since. So I've been with Wheeler since then.
Since 2012. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in jail for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously sober when you
Correct.
left, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
maybe that's not always the case, but I assume most people are in jail that are sober, right? Because you don't have access to that. So you've had a year of sobriety. What made you think I still need help, right? I still need, you mentioned I need addiction recovery path. So what made you think that?
I think the interesting part was because the doors were shut to me as far as going to family because those bridges basically were burnt. So, and my mother-in-law, one of them said, yeah, you can't come here, but I can offer you a place to go. And also while I was incarcerated, the Lord spoke to me with Galatians 6:6-9. So it says, do not get weary of doing what's right, because in due time you will reap a harvest of blessing if you don't give up.
Yeah.
And so I knew from that moment and that encounter while I was incarcerated that like I don't ever want to look back, and also I want to be a mother to my children, really, at the first and foremost, and also just a productive member of society. And so that was my motivation, because I knew that God heard my voice. I knew He heard my cry, and so then He allowed me to be and come to Wheeler. And like I said, from that time forward, when I hit those stairs to go into that space, it was really amazing. It was hard, but it was really amazing. And so what I could look at it now is just the Bible walked out. So that was just an opportunity for me to seek real relationship with other women and women in leadership. So that really mattered to me.
So it sounded like you were pretty sold out to change, right? Like
Yes.
you didn't want that path to continue.
Yes.
So let's step back a little bit. So you said you wanted to be a mother to your children.
Yeah.
How many kids?
I have 4 kids.
4 kids. And about how old were they when you went to jail?
So they were in between 3, 5, and then 11 and 13.
Oh, wow.
So there's 2 different age groups essentially.
Sure.
And
But
so
so young, but all of them young and still in the influential part of their lives. Okay, so 4 kids. And so talk to me about before that. So you end up in jail.
Yeah.
I want to hear that story.
yeah.
So your mom, you have 4 kids. Tell me about what life was like before all this happened.
Life was super chaotic because I was trying to find an identity or finding love, really, and what I was missing was the love of Jesus Christ, essentially. So I went to a Lutheran school for several years. I knew the Bible.
You're from Indiana? Okay.
Indianapolis, yeah. So I went to Lutheran school for several years, so I knew the Bible from the front and the back, essentially, by like textbook, but I didn't know what the personal relationship was. And so I firmly believe that that's kind of what I was looking for in the world, essentially. And so finding myself in one unhealthy relationship after another. And then even when I had a solid relationship, I still found substance use as kind of taking that space of relationship. And so my life, I was a dental assistant by trade. I have education that way, but I just lost myself in the addiction of substances.
When did that start?
I would say it started at 21, and that was the first time that I was introduced to crack cocaine, and that basically took me completely out. I managed I didn't really manage, but for about 3 years, I found myself in and out of incarceration, and that incarceration path lasted until I was 33. So about 12 years it would be, and I'd be in different cities and getting arrested. And so what I look at it now is just a rescue. God rescued me each and every time I was incarcerated. So I always look at that piece of my journey as just the most impactful, because he rescued me from myself. And so, of course, I was pleading to God, if you let me out, I'll do something different. But here I go again, doing the same thing over and over again until the last time.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it sounds like a period of turmoil, right?
Yeah.
And chaos.
Lost
That all,
identity.
yeah, it all came to a head, right?
Yep.
So the last you mentioned a period of incarcerations, but the last time that you went to jail, what was that situation? What did happen?
So we, my husband and I were in Illinois, and we were in a hotel room, and so he recently got a settlement of a substantial amount of money, and basically we were just using until death, essentially. And so the night,
This is your husband
current,
at the time. Okay, yeah.
and so
You're still married.
Yeah, and so this was the night of I pled to God because I was getting ready to kill myself just by the substance use, and I knew that. And I said, God, if you save me from myself, because I do not want to die like this, I will promise you I'll do the next right thing.
Yeah.
And so that was about 4 a.m. in the morning, and we got arrested at 5 p.m. that next.
So it happened pretty quick.
Yeah, within 12 hours I was incarcerated.
Did you see that as an answer to
Yes,
that prayer?
Absolutely.
In the
so
moment?
I never looked back. Yeah.
Okay.
I
So in that
definitely-
moment, you're like, God
was
just
it.
showed up. Wow. So what was that feeling like? Was that a feeling of relief? Was that a feeling of panic when that all came to a head? I mean, what
It was a feeling of, okay, what now, right?
Yeah.
And it was scary. We were in Cook County in Illinois, and so it's a very large jail. And then from there, ended up going to prison in Illinois, and then I made it back to Indiana. And so in 5 different intakes in less than a year, because I had the warrant out of Indiana. So it was important to make sure that I knew God wasn't really playing with me at that point. It's what I believe. And so,
yeah.
it was all kinds of different emotions. It was a sense of relief. When I got arrested in November, it was right around the holidays again. So, those are really hard for folks. I mean, whether you're incarcerated or not incarcerated, holidays kind of can be, challenging.
Yeah.
And so, yeah. But I was like, I never wanted this to be my first or last again. I want this to be done behind me. And so,
Yeah. Okay, so you end up in jail.
Yeah.
You've obviously seen God answering prayers. You're not sure what's going to happen next. You have 4 kids at this moment. So where do the kids end up?
Yeah.
Where does your husband end up?
Yeah.
What happens outside of the jail situation you're in?
So my mother-in-law had guardianship of my older two kids, and then my sister had guardianship of my younger two kids, and then so they weren't with us anyways. And so what had happened was my husband ended up staying incarcerated for an extra year, and then I ended up coming to Wheeler. So those relationships were already in turmoil as far as with the family and the kids. And even when I came to Wheeler, they're like, yeah, about that. We don't trust you. Yeah, we're not going to go for this. And so it was really important to me that I continue to practice these skills. Otherwise, I as well wouldn't have my kids right now as far as relationships go. Interesting enough, I met a gal that was doing pro bono work coming to the shelter, and she ended up working with me and became my attorney for 2 years for free, essentially.
Yeah.
And so I was then learning how to like file my own petitions, and I actually filed one to get in the court. But I became like really excited about the law. I'm like, hey, wait a minute, I do have rights. And so it was a process. It was discouraging at times, but also I knew that I could continue to do the next right thing, no matter if those relationships happen or not, because God reminded me, like, am I enough? Am I enough for you, even if these relationships don't pan out like you want them to?
Yeah.
And that surely tried me several times.
Sure.
Yeah. Test my heart to see if I'm really about what I say I'm about. And so I'm grateful that experience happened. But even with that being said, that was a whole nother level of miracle. And so,
Okay. So I think what everyone hears in this story, and this is the short version of a giant story, right? Is the turmoil that is going on in your life, right? And the difficulty to unravel all of that. And so you're in this moment where you've kind of hit a brick wall, right? And you have this understanding that you want something to change, right? You're in jail, you're coming out of jail, you want to pursue a different life. But I'm assuming all of this chaos that's around, right? Including like where my kids are, where my husband is right now, who's taking care of them, they don't trust me, all of this. How do I get this back on solid ground? How hopeless is that feeling? Or did you have optimism as you walked through the front doors of Wheeler? Because I know that begins to change as you go through a program like it happens inside of Wheeler Mission. But like that first day, it's got to be feel like a pretty big mountain.
So interesting enough, when I received the information about the Higher Ground program, I saw the SLT part of that, servant leadership and training. And I'm like, well, dang, I would really like to do that.
Oh, wow.
Right? So can I just... That's what I'm applying for.
Yeah.
Needless to say, I didn't really realize that you had to go through the whole thing program. Exactly. So it was like, no, you got to start at the beginning, and then you got to go through the program. I think, man, there was all kinds of different thoughts about this big mountain.
Yeah.
Right? I think that I kind of just stayed the course in the fact of the next thing, essentially, and I always held on to belief. And then hope, like keep hope alive, and then believe that, you can do all things, or believe. Believe just came like a belief, just the word itself.
Yeah.
And so just finding out, and that was a word that I kind of held on to for several years prior to the incarceration or prior to Wheeler, because I knew that there was more to me than the way that my life of dysfunction.
Yeah.
And so the opportunity came when I'm like, okay, God, here I am, right? I got these 2 prison bags. And guess what I walked into? A promotion. So there was a promotion of ladies promoting up to the 10th floor. There was then soon after that as SLT was graduating. So within like 2 weeks, I saw like, oh, this is a progression of, possibility.
Yeah.
And so just with that, I think that's always an important factor of women coming into our program, Higher Ground, or recovery in general, is like, what does it look like before me?
Sure.
Right? Who's leading that way? And then can I then pick up some of those skills or those tools to be able to practice in myself? So that was encouraging for me.
Yeah. So you enter, so let's make sure everyone understands.
Yeah.
So Higher Ground is the addiction recovery program.
Yes.
It's also... this is all taking place at the Center for Women and Children,
Correct.
right? So this is one building that has emergency shelter in it, which is overnight beds, right? Mm-hmm. We're serving meals there for people that just need a meal. And then there are long-term residential programs in the same facility, right? And so you didn't come to Wheeler Mission specifically for one of those emergency shelter beds. You came directly to the program, right? Which is a blessing by itself, right? But sometimes people come from the emergency shelter side into program, right? They've been staying there. They've been homeless for a period of time. They're staying at our shelter. They're identified as someone that needs long-term help. They say they want long-term help, but for you were sold out. I want long-term help now, right?
Correct.
And so, but what you wanted was you wanted the servant leadership training, which happens after graduation, which tells me that you're already excited to change your life, right? You wanted the training, you wanted the next steps, but there's a path that you have to go through to get there, right? So you come through the Higher Ground Addiction Recovery Program, which is how long? How long is that program?
So at that time, it was slightly longer than it is now. So we, for the program itself, currently, it's at least a 6-month commitment.
Sure.
And then if the gals want to stay with us at Wheeler, then they're committing to an extra 2 months for what's called deepen or relapse prevention piece.
Okay.
And then they can apply for whether they want to do the SLT program or they want to go into the employee program. The 6-month commitment is if they have like a place to go.
6 months now, right?
Correct.
Well, how long was it when you were there?
It was about 15 months.
So it was longer, okay?
Yeah, gratefully luckily got in and went straight to the second, like the first 90 days were kind of like a hold, but since I had a year, like.
And you're seeing people progress through this program already, right? When you first got here, right? So that tells me, hey, look, there's progress to be made here, and I'm already watching people go through that.
It was day one when I came. Literally, Bethany was like, "Just bring your stuff up to the 8th floor," and it was a promotion. So I was like, "See how God meets you where you're like, no matter what, like I'm going, and then hey, this is the promotion, and then what do you want to do with this opportunity?"
So you're seeing progress immediately as you walk through the front doors because you're seeing it in other people's lives.
Yeah.
You're seeing it in the staff that's obviously explaining how this program works. And you're thinking, I'm assuming, hey, there's this huge mountain I've got to deal with, but I know there's steps to get to that point, right? And I'm already seeing progress, and I just got here, right? And this isn't something I got to figure out what I'm going to do tomorrow. Like they've committed to me long term. You said 15 months, so and this is all free of charge, right? There's no cost, so I don't have to worry about how to pay for this. So I'm assuming you're thinking I'm taken care of here. This is a good place for me to be, right? Is that kind of the?
I think so.
Okay.
I think that, like I said, I've already read every single thing I could read about it, right? And then my mother-in-law was sharing the information, and so I knew it was a God-centered focus.
Yeah.
And I remember that God reminded me, don't get tired of doing good because you will reap a harvest of blessing, right? If you just don't give up. So I think a part of it was not giving up, right? And seeing these are slow and steady steps. Even when I was being told no by the court or trying to contact my family, to talk to my kids, whether they were teenagers, at the time, they didn't want to talk to me at that time.
Yeah.
And so that was hit and miss. But I really.
So talk to me about that. So let's sit on that for a second. So your kids are with their dad.
They're with their mother, my mother-in-law, because remember he's incarcerated.
That's right. He's still in jail. Yes. So they're with their
his mom.
Yeah. So what is that communication like with you while you're in the program with your kids? What does that look like? Does that begin to progress as well, or are they seeing a difference in Brandi?
For several years.
Yeah, took a while.
Yeah, several years.
Yeah, because they've been through it.
Yeah, even to this day. Even to this day, it is still a slow and steady walk.
Yeah.
And even with my youngest son, I don't have a relationship with my youngest son still currently. And that is because he's made that decision that he doesn't want to be a part of my life and doesn't want me a part of his.
That's hard.
It's hard. But I understand where he's coming from, and I also remain faithful in the fact that God has got me. And so is it enough for me to follow God even if that relationship doesn't get reconciled? And I say yes because it's also that a living amends piece.
Yeah.
That matters. So.
Yeah. And you've seen God bring you through things that are just as hard, if not harder. Yeah. And so he can take care of this situation too, right?
Yeah. Yeah,
and that takes time.
Yeah, it does.
And you're talking this journey you started really before this, but is almost 15 years ago, right? So it's been a long journey.
It has.
And there's been progress along the way.
Sure.
And there's more to come.
There is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lifelong journey, really.
It
in the
is,
end.
and I think that I like to look at the journey rather than just like the destination, because if I get so caught up in like when down the road when this happens, I'm like trying to look at today, right? And I'm looking at today as really a gift and an opportunity. And the reason is because I can only work with what I have today.
Right.
Right. And so I feel like that's so impactful for someone in recovery, maybe people in general, but definitely for me, is just really embracing the day, embracing the opportunity and the moment of time. And like, God, you didn't have to wake me up today, right? You didn't have to give me an opportunity to enjoy the sun outside today, or, our opportunity to speak on this topic, or, but he does, and he did.
Yeah.
And so I like to try to maximize that piece of that. Otherwise, I will be defeated and I'll be beat.
Yeah.
And then then what? Not to say I'm always up and ready. Some days I don't want to get up either, but I keep moving forward because there's hope in that.
Yeah, and there's hope in the milestones too, right? Like you see God open doors that you didn't think could open.
Yeah.
And that tells you that when you're coming through, this journey and you're seeing additional mountains and barriers, and that he's done it before, he'll do it again, right? So what were some of those biggest doors that opened that you never thought would open as you're on this journey, right? Again, almost 15-year journey. There's plenty, I'm sure, but
sure.
What were some of the big ones?
Well, a few of them. I guess basically after I had so there was a time that I had been 9 months in the program, and the opportunity at that point was like, do you want to stay for servant leadership? Remember, that's what I wanted to come into.
Yeah.
However,
now
when
the door's open,
whenever the time came, I was like, maybe I'll just get a
Go
job,
back.
and we'll do that, right?
So you graduate, and this is kind of an additional training, almost like an internship opportunity that you can stay there and keep going, right? But you've graduated.
Yeah.
So we're at graduation point now. You've been here for 15 months. It's like, well, do I want to go back, right? Or do I want to keep moving forward? Yeah. So you decided to move forward, I'm assuming.
I did. I moved forward. And then that part allowed me to then become a program assistant in the addiction recovery program. And so I helped oversee our Edwards location. So that was women in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th stage of the program. Provided transportation, just different stuff like that. At that
this is in SLT, or is this on staff now?
Both.
Okay.
So it was SLT.
So you're getting on-the-job training.
Yeah. And then it went into an opportunity to have a program assistant position.
Okay.
So upon my graduation from the SLT. And then with that being said, then it progressed to case manager position. And so then, program manager for the residential programs, so for all 3 of our programs, and also just overseeing staff and guests. So, being a good steward of our, blessings, I guess you could say, or our gifts or opportunities, stewarding those well has allowed me to then say what's next, and having that open mind and door. And I even put myself in college, and so I'm super excited about pursuing my master's degree now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's been one door, I guess, after another, and being able to walk into that mindfully, actually. So
yeah. So you came in the front door. You're seeing people that are in this final stage, and you're not sure once you hit graduation whether you want to go through that, but that becomes a door to even work here, right? Which wasn't on your radar when you first showed up, right? Was actually be on staff. So talk to me about that. So you've graduated this program. It's a long program, right? 15 months seems like an eternity to some people that are
like
on the
20
front
months after you're said and done with SLT.
Yeah, so almost 2 years that you're here, right? Yeah. And again, it could feel like an eternity to some people who are making this decision. Do I want to go down this path?
Yeah.
But I think, and I'm sure you could attest to the fact that if you wouldn't have made that decision to come here and just gone out and tried all this on your own, who knows where you'd have been?
I'd be dead.
Dead.
Facts.
And so the alternative to putting 2 years into a difficult program really was the wise choice there, right?
Yes.
As long as that may have seemed, that's certainly a better road than sounds like the alternative you were aware of.
Correct. So. There was a point where I was like, do I even ever want to leave here? But then I was able to leave and, able to get an apartment and with, and so at that same time getting guardianship back on my daughter. And so there was a lot of neat stuff that happened within all of that too. And so,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So you joined the staff in 2014, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so you've been working here for over 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
What's that path been like? So you've had a few different roles, but talk to me about that journey and then where you are now and what you're doing now.
Yeah, so that journey it's been interesting. I think it's been humbling in a lot of ways too.
Sure.
And so just reminding myself that I have to trust in the process, right? And I have to trust my leadership, and I have to trust that God has me where He wants me for this season of my life.
Yeah.
And so just really having just the courage it takes to say, like, at this point too, I've had a criminal record. I've gotten all of these felonies on my record, and so for an organization to look at me and say, we're going to hire you. You're going to even drive our vehicles,
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to trust you with
Other people.
Yeah, other people's lives.
Yeah.
And you're going to steward those well. And
Yeah.
so that was a kind of like a whoa, shaking my head type of thing.
Yeah.
I still kind of look back at that, and because I don't ever want to
Like
forget where I came from.
you have the keys to the door of the
Keys to the
organization
door,
that
yeah.
wasn't sure to let you in or
Yeah,
not, right?
yeah.
And now you have the keys.
Now you're in the safe. You're just doing,
Yeah.
you're in charge of people, stewarding people essentially, and
And that took time to build that trust
Yeah.
and that new character
Yeah.
and reputation
They
to
give
be
you
able
an
to take
opportunity.
on.
That's the beautiful part about it. It's like, hey, we're going to give you an opportunity. So no matter what it looks like on paper,
Yeah.
like we see you.
Yeah.
And that really matters to me.
Good.
And that's how we like to look at the guests coming in too. Like, hey, no matter whatever the paper looks like, we see you.
Yeah.
Right. And we want to build relationship with you. And we see your heart. We see what God's doing and what His plan is for you. That's such a beautiful opportunity. And so we don't ever want to take that lightly.
Yeah.
And the reason that I experienced that opportunity, so it's important to give back the same that was given to me. And so I think that that's been really impactful too.
Yeah.
I know what to do. I know how to move because God showed me the people that He needed to, and helped me. And so
Yeah. So your job now, what is you're a program manager, right?
yeah,
So you're in the Higher Ground Addiction Recovery Program, right? So you said things have changed. So I know we just sped through your journey, and it was an amazing journey all by itself. But now you're experiencing other people's journeys, right? So talk to me about what your job is now and what you're responsible for specifically.
yeah. So right now my job is a lot of things, but program manager for the residential program. So, and then I'm a case manager for our addiction recovery program and also our servant leadership training program.
Okay.
So I oversee all three of our long-term programs. I oversee our staff, my team, which is made of 2 case managers and 2 program assistants currently, and then over our guests, which we have 48 guests in the long-term programs. But specifically for Higher Ground, I am a case manager for our second phase of our program, and that's basically what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So now you're responsible for the progression of these individuals that come through our front door, right?
Discipleship, yeah.
So you're providing opportunities for people that are in the shelter.
Yeah.
You're providing people that are coming from outside organizations or outside areas like jail, or maybe they just come straight to the program because they heard of this. They heard stories like yours,
Yeah.
and they're like, I want that too,
Yeah.
right? So there's opportunities for lots of people that are here, right? You don't have to be at one of our overnight shelters, but you can be,
Correct.
which is what I'm hearing you say.
Mm-hmm.
So talk to me about how long it is and what does the program look like? What are people going through on a daily basis?
So the initial commitment's a 6-month commitment.
Okay.
And so we call the first phase, which is the first 90 days, is called the orientation phase.
Okay.
So it gives them an opportunity to practice a schedule because we have a very strenuous schedule. So
Yeah.
we get up at a certain time, we do Bible study, quiet time, different classes and programming throughout the day. And it's structured. So we have kitchen chores, we have it's just very structured. We do restored creations. So maybe for the first time in a long time, they're able to actually follow a schedule, right? Making our beds, just the basics, things that maybe we've forgotten.
Yeah.
And then the second phase is called discipleship. So that's at least a 90-day commitment. And
Okay.
then that gives them an opportunity to move up to our floor 10, which is it has a kitchen, so like a house setting has a living room, a kitchen, and then it has the bedrooms and it has the bathroom up there too.
So they get more responsibility,
more opportunity,
privacy, which is
Yeah,
nice.
more, sort of, yes.
No, not as much,
but
but
then
still tight
more
quarters.
opportunity to practice the skills that
Sure.
they learned in the first real super structured
Yeah.
part, but it's still pretty structured, and we believe that team matters still throughout the program. So
Yeah.
we're building team building, we're working on ethical responsibilities, we're working on integrity. If we say we're going to do something, let's do
Right.
it. We have a lot of hard conversations and a lot of just sisterhood, essentially, just really empowering the women to choose what they're going to do for the day, essentially, so they can do or they
Yeah.
don't. And
there's a lot of power in just
Yeah.
doing something over an extended period of time,
Yeah.
the right way over and over. That discipline will change you by itself, right? But the discipline isn't just in the daily structure, right? It has a spiritual component too. So talk to me about that. You mentioned Bible studies. How important is the spiritual component of introducing them to Jesus, and then walking alongside of them as they have this journey with a relationship with Jesus?
I think that all of our curriculum is a God-centered focus, so it's evidence-based with a God-centered focus.
Yeah.
So that's going to be like what we're going to open the door with, and basically say to them, hey, if you don't have a personal relationship with Jesus, that's okay.
Yeah.
However, this is what our programming is.
So you don't have to be a
about.
Christian to go
No.
into the program.
You just have to be willing.
Yeah.
And so that's what we and then once you become willing, and then you're able to decide who you want to follow, right? And
Yeah.
so the programming, the classes are so impactful, and it gives them an opportunity to work within each other, with each other as the team, and use each other for support, and also just having they're amazing women.
Yeah.
And so they just so much life transformation happening, and it happens in all kinds of ways. It happens in conflict. It happens in just our every day, all
Yeah.
day. It's happening, like change.
Yeah, and you're walking, and they don't leave this
No,
facility,
they do not
right?
leave.
So they're in a very focused, structured environment where they can't go home and be around the temptations that might be outside of the walls. Like, it's a protected environment for their own well-being. Obviously, they may not have another place to go anyway, but
Sure.
but still, it's all there in one area. But you're there with people that are in the same situation that you're in, right? Side by side, which obviously you can relate to each other, but there's also accountability built in there too, right? Talk to me about that. Like, talk to me about the accountability between the individuals that are going in through this program while they're in the program, and how that plays itself out even after the program. I'm sure you have some personal examples of that.
I think the accountability is something that people have to learn what accountability really looks like,
Yeah.
and then also like if it's what biblical accountability looks like, and it's because I care about you that I want to talk to you about these things,
Right.
not because I'm trying to like catch you like doing something around the corner, but the ladies kind of have that choice to make, and then a lot of times it's just about, hey, it's okay to have a conversation with your sister.
Yeah.
And then because some people like think like if I'm snitching on someone, then that's
Yeah.
shame on me. But that's what our street mentality wants
Yeah.
to say, or our worldly mentality wants to say.
Yeah, you got to break what
break
was
that-
working in jail
yeah,
too,
yeah.
right? Like, that's not how
Now it's
what's
like-
going to be healthy for you long term.
Yeah,
so.
it's like, hey, let's talk about the heart of the matter, really, and that's what we talk about quite a bit. Is like, what is my motivation for even trying to
Yeah.
talk to you about these things? And so then what we find, and we want to have a culture of safety and trust around accountability,
Sure.
and that's what we kind of just keep having conversations about. Is like, hey, what do you want to do differently next time?
Sure.
So-
Okay. So again, program's a little shorter than when you were there. Still, I'm assuming very highly effective, right? And there's reasons why it's shorter, and that gives people opportunities to graduate at a higher rate too. And so we want those milestones of success, right? But when they graduate, the journey doesn't stop there. So talk to me about what opportunities are there after you graduate, and maybe some examples, some stories of
Yeah.
people that have recently graduated, and what's life look like for them after they finish the program?
Yeah. So we've really connected with like peer recovery coach. We've connected with Aspen, which is community health worker recovery specialist training. So anybody that's going through one of our long-term programs, but specifically higher ground, like as they complete their SLT, we want them to be able to be connected to these whatever they're trying to do. So whether it's school, whatever it's the training, the certification. And so we're talking about that really right away and kind of what they want it to look like so that they're prepared for when graduation happens. The neat part about that is we have 2 gals right now that are SLTs and they're going to college right now. And so they're able to do that as well as do their SLT. We have an opportunity a lot of times for our guests that complete SLT to potentially work for Wheeler if that's what they choose to do.
Yeah.
And then we have our Cornerstone Living too, which is a part of like transitional housing from Wheeler. So if they complete the program, they're in our workforce program, and then they decide that they want to stay with us longer, they can apply for one of those units. So the aftercare is all included. I mean, we want to keep you around as long as you want to be around. I mean, as long as they're calling or asking or wanting to be connected, then we always keep our door open that way. And you ask about a couple different people and what they're doing afterwards. I had a gal that I believe she came through in 2015. She came and didn't have a single relationship with her children. They were basically in foster care, and I believe it even adopted out at that time. And her whole thing was a matter of I just want to talk to my kids. Like I remember going to court with her when they finalized her not being able to talk to her kids, and at that time, it looked so discouraging, but she kept the faith, and she would always have her higher ground manual out and say, like, hey, you better look at what the higher ground manual says. So she always wanted to follow, like, the direction of.
Yeah.
And so I just talked to her recently, and she said, at that time, I did not know how those relationships were going to work. She said, but I knew when they turned 18 that would be, like, a different story. And so about 7 years later, she has a very good relationship with all 3 of those kids that she wasn't able to see at the time, grandkids on the way. But the heart of all of that was, like, she too said, if I didn't do what if I didn't follow direction, or if I gave up when it felt like I didn't know what else to do, but I kept going, then I would never have an opportunity as I do today.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the different, that's the case of so many of our women. It's like maybe they don't have kids, but maybe they didn't think that they were going to have restoration with their families, like moms and dads, like elderly parents even, And so I have one guest in particular that she moved out from SLT, got housing. She did have a little setback, but she kept going. Got a new dog, just got all of those. That was like one of her main things was she lost her dog when she came to the program.
Yeah.
But her dog was like her child.
Sure.
And so for her to be able to like restore that piece of her heart, and just it's amazing, right? And so another gal just recently got married, right? After like 28, she came through the program twice, but that second time was like, this is what my focus is on God, and ended up just following what a godly relationship looks like, and that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so getting ready to buy a house, And
yeah, I think, there's this question, and I was going to ask you, but I think we've just talked about it, is like, what is life transformation, right? We talk about it a lot. We talk about what people are like when they come through the front doors of a place like Wheeler, right? There's a lot of places around the country that are very similar to Wheeler. There are ministries set up to be a safety net of the community, where you have nowhere else to go, you have no one else to turn to. Where am I going to go? Wheeler Mission is that answer in Indianapolis. Like, we will take you in, right? And so sometimes the question is where am I going to stay tonight and tomorrow, right? That's the simple question they've got to answer. Or I just left jail. Where am I going to go next, right? Or it could be as simple as, where's my next meal going to come from? And so those are the first things that we address. But the story that you just talked about is life transformation. I came here for this, and I'm leaving with like a whole different life now, right? Like I have restoration with my family, or with even my dog. Like I have a dog now, right?
That's
like,
a big deal.
Yeah, like that's a huge deal. And it's not just about like, where am I going to live? Now it's about like, my life is completely different now, right? And so So when someone's life is truly transformed, like yours is, like you don't want to go back to the way it was anymore, right? Because this is so much better, right? And I think what people experience time after time, and I went through our programs as well years ago, right? And one thing I always say is, if you spend time focused on helping other people for a period of time, and time with the Lord for an extended period of time, your life will never be the same again. It will be transformed, and it won't be. You can't predict how it will look, right? You wouldn't have predicted the way your life will be now when you first came to Wheeler, but it's so much better, right?
I mean, because I don't think we can predict it, because then we would be limiting God, right?
Right.
Another thing I wanted to touch base with is, even there's been plenty of gals that came through the program, and the life transformation still happened in the program, but maybe they passed away. So maybe they went back to using, right? But at the end of the day, we know that we could stand firm with that family and say, hey, like, we see you guys, we love you guys, and we love your daughter as well, and we love everything she stood for. I think that's always an important fact of it too, as life transformation happens in what is success.
Yeah.
Right? If God called her home, God called her home. And so we know that, hey, did we do our part? And then also being able to love the family well has been so important. And that's part of what we do too, is just connect with family as much as we can, with boundaries, of course. But
they're all connected, right?
It's all connected. And so that's a really neat piece of that too. It's like, even if we're still
people don't really talk a lot about what the family goes through when someone's going through this type of trauma and the addiction and just the chaos and the choices. Like, that affects generations.
It does.
And when you can turn that for a life, sometimes that will impact the generations that follow, their kids, their cousins, their obviously even forward with their parents.
We just talked about that today in Lead Like Jesus class. It was like, what you're doing now is like changing 4 generations ahead. So that's why we're looking at the legacy, right? And so that's why we're excited about where we're at right now. And this isn't just about today. It is, but yet it is also about where this is leading. And so I always try to just encourage our gals that, hey, this isn't for nothing. Yeah. Like, God has a plan for you. And so our living amends is just by showing up.
100%. Well, Brandi, I think the way I want to wrap up here is, so we talked a lot. What I'm hearing, the biggest thing I'm hearing in this entire conversation is that you came to Wheeler not knowing what was next, right? With a mountain in front of you that you weren't sure how you were going to get around or through, or but God opened doors when things were impossible. And He's doing it in people around you all over the place now. He's using you for things that you never thought He'd use you for. And life is so much better now than with the choices that we were making before, right? And so what I'm hearing in your story is hope for a lot of people. I know you get to share that with people on a daily basis inside the walls at Wheeler, but talk to someone now who is either struggling with addiction or with all of the things that go around that lifestyle, right? It's not just about the substances, it's about the choices and the lifestyle, and that's just, it can be chaotic. Or that knows someone that desperately needs help. What is it that someone struggling with this should know about the opportunities that are out there, what God believes about them and how God created them, but also the opportunities that are at Wheeler Mission if they need to reach out for hope?
Yeah, so I would say hold on to hope and don't let it go, right? And then be faithful to all that God has taught us too. And so just holding on to the hope and don't letting it go, right? Reach out. There's someone that wants to talk, someone that's there to listen. And no matter what, they're loved. People are loved. God loves His children. And so He doesn't judge His children, but He loves His children. And so I think that would be one takeaway is hold on to hope. Yeah. Believe that God has a plan and a purpose, right? And to continue to try.
Yeah. And if they want to get help at Wheeler, how do they do that?
Yeah, so they can call the center. So that's the shelter, ask for extension 207, and then that's the first step.
Is that you?
That's extension 207, so 317-687-3630, extension 207, and then that will bring him into higher grounds intake line, and then we will get back, so leave a name and a message, and we'll contact them within 24 hours, and that's one
where
step.
It starts, right?
Yeah, they can also come into winter contingency if they need to. They can also go to ESS as far as a bed and emergency
Yeah.
services. So just give us a call, and that's how we would get
Yeah, it may
started.
start with a night in a bed. May start with a meal. Just
Maybe,
come,
yeah.
or it may start with just come right to the
Sure.
program, go through that intake process, and then we'll get you in. And this is just the women's side we're talked about. We didn't even talk about the men's side, which is a whole other opportunity. If you know men that need that help, it's a different facility, but it's a similar process, and we just encourage people to seek help because no situation is hopeless. I don't believe that. I've seen God turn around too many lives. I've seen lives transformed that I literally saw them show up at the front door thinking there's no way.
Yeah.
And these people are living productive lives that are restored with their families and doing amazing things in our community. So
I was going to say, you can also reach out if you are incarcerated. You got a case manager there that would be able to email us, or wheelermission.org would be a great way to start. And then that will also help connect them in the right facility. That
Awesome.
way too. Yeah.
Lots of opportunities. Over 800 people a day are going through a journey that you've experienced very personally. And God has a different version of that story in every person's life. I encourage you, if you know anybody who's been through addiction, to ask them their story.
Yeah.
And I promise you, it's that their story has nothing to do with the way you see them right then in that moment. They have a childhood, they have family that are impacted, and they have a hope for something that's different in their life. And again, we're seeing that every day here. And I appreciate your work and your heart to help other people to get the same help that you receive. So, Brandi, thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate you being on here. Hopefully we can do this again sometime. But yeah, great job.
Yeah. Thank
All
you.
right. Bye. Hey, if this podcast episode spoke to you, we'd love for you to dig a little bit deeper. Check out some of our other podcast episodes. We're going to tell lots of great stories that are going to really bless you. You're going to hear more about experiences that people experiencing homelessness have. What is that like for them, right? You're going to hear more about what goes on inside of Wheeler Mission's walls. You're going to hear stories from some of our friends in the community. But check those out. But you can also get plugged in right here at Wheeler Mission. We'd love for you to volunteer. Sometimes that can be just serving a meal, but there's lots of great ways to come and get plugged in here as a volunteer. Also, if you know somebody that needs help, Wheeler Mission is a resource for you. And so point them our direction. You can get all those phone numbers and websites to get plugged in at wheelermission.org. Again, send people our way who need help or get plugged in yourself. But again, we thank you for listening.